can't wait for Sunday's cookout, I said lightly, setting my glass down on the table. My brother didn't even look up. You're not on the guest list. Laughter rippled around the table, quiet but sharp enough to sting. Mom smiled, slicing into her steak like she was carving through me. Only close family this time, dear. Hi everyone, my name is Ava Lorne. And that was the night I learned blood doesn't always mean family. The room smelled like roasted garlic and disappointment. My dad cleared his throat trying to change the subject, but I'd already checked out. My eyes fixed on the flickering candle between us, its flame bending with every draft. I'd spent the past 2 years paying their bills when they forgot, babysitting their kids when they were busy, and covering their emergencies like I didn't have my own. Now apparently I wasn't close family. So I smiled, that polite, quiet kind of smile that hides an ache. Got it, I said softly, pushing my chair back. Enjoy your dinner. Mom didn't stop me. My brother didn't even glance up. The only sound that followed me out was the clink of silverware against china. When I got to my car, I sat there for a long time watching the house glow behind me, their laughter muffled by walls I helped keep warm. The irony didn't hit me until later, when Mom texted me about the tiny issue with the heating payment. 4 days later, their $3,850 bill got declined. And I replied with the same smile she gave me that night. Close family can handle the heat. I didn't know that sentence would start everything. 2 mornings later, I was making coffee when the knock hit my door, hard, desperate, like guilt had grown hands. The mug slipped from my fingers and shattered against the counter. Through the peephole, I saw my brother, gray hoodie, face flushed from the cold. Behind him, Mom stood wrapped in a coat she hadn't buttoned right, the kind of mistake she only made when she was panicking. I opened the door slowly. Didn't expect close family this early. Ava, the heat's been off for 3 days, Mom said, her voice trembling. The pipes froze. We can't reach the company. They said the payment was declined. Oh, I said, pretending to think. Maybe the card expired. My brother stepped forward, his tone sharp. You know it didn't. You canceled it, didn't you? I raised a brow. That's an interesting accusation for someone who didn't invite me to the cookout. He looked ready to explode, but Mom's hand on his arm stopped him. Her eyes softened, that familiar weapon she used when she wanted something. Ava, please. The kids are freezing. You've always helped us. I looked past them into the pale winter morning. Their car sat idling in my driveway, exhaust curling into the cold air. I thought about every time I'd covered for them, the late-night transfers, the guilt texts, the fake apologies. Something inside me finally unhooked. I used to help because I thought we were family, I said quietly. Turns out I was just your emergency fund. Mom's lips parted, but nothing came out. Then I closed the door, slow enough for the silence to sting. Their knock didn't come again. But that morning something else did. A letter slid under my door. The envelope was unmarked. No return address, no handwriting, just my name typed in cold black ink. I stared at it for a full minute before picking it up. It smelled faintly like winter air and cigarette smoke. My brother's habits. Inside, a single sheet. You think you're better than us now? You'll regret embarrassing this family. Don't test me, Ava. No signature. No courage either. I folded it back carefully like something fragile that could still cut. The kettle clicked behind me, steam curling into the morning silence. Outside, snow began to fall in thin, stubborn lines. The kind that never really stick but always remind you how cold the world can get. By noon I'd stopped shaking. Instead I started thinking. If they wanted to test me, they picked the wrong subject. That afternoon I drove to the utility office. The same office where I'd once waited 3 hours to fix their late payments. I remembered the clerk's name, Paula, because she told me I had a patient face. I didn't nod anymore. Hi, Paula, I said, sliding the envelope across the counter. I think someone's been tampering with my account. Her eyes widened slightly as she checked the records. Funny, she whispered. Someone did call last week pretending to be you. Tried to switch billing access. I smiled, small and calm. Do me a favor. Keep a note on file. If they try again, call me first. Paula nodded. You got it. When I stepped back outside, snow had started to layer on the windshield. I wiped it away with my sleeve and saw my reflection in the glass. Quiet, tired, but sharper than before. They wanted to play family games. They forgot I know the rules. Sunday came anyway. The day of their precious family cookout. I wasn't invited, but I didn't need to be. I could hear the music from 3 blocks away. Old Motown songs my mom only played when she wanted to seem warm. The kind of warmth that burned from the outside in. I parked across the street from their house, windows cracked, watching the driveway fill with cars. Everyone laughing, holding plates, hugging each other like nothing had ever happened. My brother wore his new jacket, the one I bought him last Christmas. Mom waved at the neighbors like she hadn't disowned her daughter over dinner. I sat there for 20 minutes, silent, fingers tracing the steering wheel. Then I noticed something, the new space heater running through the window. The house's main heat still wasn't back on. And I knew exactly what would happen if they kept overloading circuits. So I drove off, not to cause trouble but to protect myself from it. Because I knew what was coming. That night around 11:47 p.m. my phone buzzed. Mom, Ava, something's wrong. The power's out. Smoke in the kitchen. Me, call 911. Mom, we did. They're saying the line was overloaded. The heater melted. I stared at the text, my thumb hovering above the screen. Then I typed back, calm, measured, true. Close family should have checked the fuses. No reply came. Just silence, heavier than guilt. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just sat in the dark of my apartment, listening to the hum of my own heater, steady and safe. They thought shutting me out would keep me powerless. But every time they slammed the door I learned how to stand alone. By morning the group chat was flooded. Pictures of blackened countertops, smoke-stained curtains, and a burned patch across the kitchen wall. No one was hurt, just shaken, humbled, and suddenly quiet. I didn't respond to any of it. Not the "can you believe this happened?" texts. Not the "guess we should have just asked Ava for help" jokes. Silence had become my favorite kind of revenge. Around noon there was another knock, softer this time. I already knew who it was before I opened the door. Mom stood there clutching a foil-covered plate, her eyes red from smoke or tears, maybe both. "I made your favorite," she said quietly. "Just wanted to say sorry for how we treated you." Behind her, my brother stood with his hands buried in his pockets. He couldn't meet my eyes. For a second I almost gave in. Almost believed it. But then I remembered. Apologies from my family always came wrapped in favors. "What do you need?" I asked. She hesitated. "The insurance company. They're asking about the bill. The heating payment, the electrical upgrades. They're saying your name's still on the maintenance account." I almost laughed. So when things go wrong suddenly I am family again? Her eyes welled up. "Ava, please. You're the only one they'll listen to." I stepped aside, letting her look into the apartment. Clean, quiet, peaceful. "You built a family without me," I said softly. "Now live with the comfort that came with it." She didn't say another word. Just placed the plate on the counter and walked away, leaving the faint smell of smoke and guilt behind her. I waited until the door closed, then whispered to the empty room. "This time I'm not fixing their fire." That night the apartment felt too quiet, the kind of silence that hums. I sat by the window, watching snow pile against the streetlights, each flake catching a piece of light before it vanished. My phone kept buzzing. Missed calls from Mom. A text from my brother. "You're really going to let them cut the power again?" I didn't answer. At 2:13 a.m. another message came. "The pipes burst. Basement's flooding. You happy now?" I set the phone face down on the table. Happiness wasn't the word. Relief maybe. Because for once the consequences didn't fall on me. When I finally slept I dreamed of warmth. The kind you earn, not borrow. The kind you don't have to beg for. Morning brought another kind of knock. This one was steady, polite. When I opened the door, a man in a navy coat stood holding an envelope. "Ms. Lorne? You've been listed as secondary owner of the property on Maple Street. There's been a claim filed under your name." I blinked. "A claim?" "Yes," he said, checking his clipboard. "Fire and water damage. You're financially responsible until ownership records are updated." I almost laughed. My family's mess had officially landed on my doorstep, signed and stamped. "Got it," I said, taking the envelope. When he left, I sat on the couch, staring at the papers. They'd never removed my name because they needed me on file. It wasn't about family. It was about access. Outside the snow thickened, quiet, relentless, cleansing. And I realized something. They hadn't just frozen me out. They'd built their whole comfort on me. Now I was going to melt it all away, carefully, legally, permanently. I spent the next morning at my lawyer's office, the air thick with the smell of paper and coffee. His name was Daniel Reese, calm, methodical, and far too used to seeing families fall apart over signatures. He adjusted his glasses. "You're still listed as a 1/3 beneficiary of the Maple Street property. They never removed you after your grandfather passed. That means you're legally entitled to your share of insurance compensation, and liable for nothing they destroyed without consent." I exhaled slowly, the weight of months finally shifting. "So I can walk away?" "Not just walk," he said, tapping the folder. "You can claim. The payout is sizable, Ava. If you want, we can also transfer ownership completely out of your name, sever ties cleanly." Outside his office window, snow glittered across the city. For the first time, I didn't feel the chill. I felt free. That evening, I sent one last message to our family group chat. "Please direct all further questions to my attorney. Also, the insurance company will contact you about settlement distribution. My portion will go to a local shelter. They actually know the meaning of family." I didn't expect a response. But my brother replied anyway, "You really think this makes you better than us?" I stared at the screen, my reflection faint in the glass. "No," I whispered. "Just different." Then I blocked the chat, set down my phone, and opened the window. The cold air hit my face, sharp, cleansing. The same family who taught me to survive the cold had finally given me warmth. The kind that comes from closing the door, and meaning it. A week later, I drove past the Maple Street house for the last time. The windows were boarded, the lawn buried under frost. A faint "for sale" sign tilted in the snow, half covered, like even the wind didn't want to claim it. I parked across the street, not out of nostalgia but closure. The same place that once smelled of my mother's pie and my brother's cologne now reeked of burnt drywall and regret. The home that raised me had become their monument to selfishness. As I sat there, a memory played in my mind. Me, 12 years old, holding a flashlight while Dad fixed the furnace. "Family means keeping each other warm," he'd said, tightening the bolt. I smiled sadly. Maybe he'd meant it once. Maybe we all had. I took out the official letter from Daniel. Confirmation that my name had been legally removed, inheritance deposited into the shelter's account. A clean severance. My last tie to them, gone with a signature. The wind picked up, carrying faint laughter from somewhere down the street. Children playing in the snow. Real warmth, real family. I rolled down my window, letting the air sting my face. My phone buzzed with one last notification. A message from Mom, unsent before she deleted it. Just a single word remained visible in preview. "Sorry." I didn't open it. Some things are better left unread. I started the engine, headlights cutting through the pale morning mist. As I drove away, the house grew smaller in the rearview mirror, until it wasn't a house anymore, just a shadow. For the first time in years, the heat inside my car felt earned. And for once, I didn't owe anyone warmth.